Hey everyone, today we are going to be multiplying more fractions, but we are going to multiply several fractions and not just two. The same rules apply from yesterday. So we are going to be first changing any mixed numbers into improper fractions and changing any whole numbers into fractions and then doing our cross canceling. In these examples that I have for you today, there's no mixed numbers and no whole numbers to change. We're just going to start with our cross canceling just to practice. And then we have some challenge questions that have those mixed numbers and whole numbers in them. When you get a big list like this of fractions, this big long list of fractions that you're multiplying together, the first thing I want you to do in your cross canceling is I want you to look for any numbers that are the same and I want you to cancel those first. So for example, the 3 on the top and the bottom here, I'm going to cancel those first. And then the 4 on the top and the bottom, I'm going to cancel those first. So I want to get rid of anything that's the same first. Then I'm going to look at, can I do any other cross canceling? Well, I noticed that the 6 and the 9 have something in common. So I'm going to cancel out the 9 and put a 3 because they have a 3 in common. And then I'm going to cross out the 6 and put a 2 because they have a 3 in common. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. 12 and 3 have something in common. So I can cancel out the 12 and put a 4 and cancel out the 3 and put a 1. This blue 2 that I've drawn here, and there's a 2 on the bottom, so I can cancel those out. And those become 1s. This 5 and the 10 have a 5 in common. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. And then the last thing that I can cancel out is this 4 at the very beginning and the 2 at the very end. The 2 becomes a 1 and the 4 becomes a 2. So now I'm going to highlight or circle all of the values that I have left that I have to use in order to multiply. So when I rewrite my expression like I did the other day with just our two fractions, I'm going to write all the numbers on top. So 2 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, and then the bottom is all 1s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There should be the same number of numbers on top as there was on the bottom because you have a certain number of fractions. So you have to show that number of numbers. And all of your numbers should be as simple as they can possibly be. So I was left with 1, 2, and a bunch of 1s. So 2 times 1 on top is 2. And 1 times all those 1s on the bottom is 1. So 2 over 1 is an acceptable answer, and so is 2. So again, we started by canceling out anything that was the same on the top or the bottom, and then cross-canceling anything that was possible to cancel. Okay, so I'm going to show another example over here. So let me change my pen back. So the first thing I'm going to cancel out is anything that's the same. So I notice that there's a 12 on the top and a 12 on the bottom. So I'm going to cancel those. I've got a 3 on the top and a 3 on the bottom. So I'm going to cancel those. I've got a 4 on the top and a 4 on the bottom. So I'm going to cancel those first. Now I'm going to go into my other cross canceling. So 8 and 6 have a 2 in common. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then this 2 can go into either one of these 4s. So 2 becomes a 1, and a 4 becomes a 2. 3 doesn't have anything in common with the bottom, and the bottom 2 are as simple as they can be. So I'm going to highlight all the values that I have to use. Okay, so it's super important that you're identifying in some way which numbers you still have to multiply. So I've got 1 times 3 times 1 times 1 times 1, and then 2 times 4, and then 3 ones. So 1 times 3 on top is going to remain 3, and 2 times 4 times 1 on the bottom is 8. So again, cancel out everything that's the same first, and then do your cross canceling until you can no longer simplify. So this one down here, I'm going to cancel out everything that's the same first. So 6 on top, 6 on the bottom, 3 on top, 3 on the bottom, 9 on top, 9 on the bottom. And now I can do my regular cross canceling. So 18 and 2 can go together. So this is going to become a 9, and this is going to become a 1. And then depending on how you want to look at it next, I can do the 9 with the 12 or the 6 with the 12. If I do the 9 with the 12, it's going to be 3 up here and 4 down here. So that's completely simplified. And then the 6 and the 4 can still be simplified further. So 6 and 4 have a 2 in common. So I'm going to do 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then I've got all my values that are completely simplified as much as they can be. So on top, I've got 3 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 3. And then the bottom is 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 2. And nothing can be simplified further. So 3 times 1 times 3 is going to be 9. And 1 times 2 on the bottom is 2. So there were a couple different ways to go about this one depending on how you simplified. I chose to simplify the 18 first and then work with the 6 at the end. You could choose to do the 6 over 12 first, and you would get yourself to the same answer. This last one over here, let's change to my red first. So we're going to cross out anything that's the same first. Looking through these fractions, nothing appears to be the same. So I'm going to start with just regular cross canceling because nothing on the top and the bottom matches. So in this one, I know that 12 and 4 can go together. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. And now I have something that matches, so I can cross out the 3 on the top and the 3 on the bottom. 6 and 8 have a 2 in common, so this becomes a 4, and this becomes a 3. And then the 3's can cancel again. 4 and 2 can go together, so this becomes a 2 and this becomes a 1. And then I've got 2's that can cancel, 2 and 2, so this becomes a 1. And then at the very end here, I'm left with the fraction 9 over 24. 9 and 24 have a 3 in common, so this last fraction can still be simplified. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. And I've got everything as simple as it can possibly be, so I am going to then highlight what I've got here that I have to multiply. Forgot to put one of the ones in there. So now I can write my new problem. So 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 3 on the top, and 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 8 on the bottom. And when I multiply, I'm going to get 3 over 8. Okay? So again, we're looking for things that are the same first. Get rid of those things, make life simpler for yourself, and then do your regular cross canceling. Get it as simple as you possibly can. We're going to write out our new values after we think that we've got it as simple as it can possibly be, and just double check really quick that we can't do anything else before we multiply. Your homework is just a few of these problems where we have multiple fractions that we're dealing with, and then there's a few challenge questions that have some mixed numbers and some whole numbers thrown in. So good luck.